4 spine-chilling trespassing tales revealed terrifying encounters with the sinister and cursed. Laura's heart raced as the sun sank behind the perfect facades of Willow Creek. She gazed at her children, Jenna and Max, laughing in the yard, their innocent giggles a stark contrast to the sinister message that now haunted her thoughts. "I see you, Laura. I know your family has secrets." The anonymous text had shattered her tranquility, a harbinger of shadows. The once friendly street now seemed to hold an unspeakable dread that crept under her skin. As the days turned into a blur of exhaustion from her graveyard nursing shifts, a chill gripped her every time darkness fell. She felt eyes on her no longer just a figment of her declining sanity. Late at night, she would catch a glimpse of movement from the edge of the trees, a figure cloaked in shadow, watching her, waiting. The warm comfort of her home became a cage, each creak of the floorboards morphing into whispers that echoed her unspoken fears. The tension escalated when she discovered footprints that led right to her backyard. They were far too small to belong to her kids, and the dread that pooled in her stomach began to fester into panic. Who was watching? Who had the audacity to invade her sanctuary? Folklore tales of vengeful spirits of restless souls angry at the living popped into her mind. She laughed at them once, but now they gnawed at her, twisting fear into a tightly wound coil. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. That evening, Laura confided in her neighbors. She half expected comfort, but received laughter instead. Their smiles seemed fixed, too bright. Officer Thompson, a man she thought she could trust, dismissed her worries with a wave and a condescending chuckle. "You're imagining things," he scoffed, but she felt the steel behind his smile. Something festered just below the surface, and every word she spoke pierced through the thin veil of normalcy that Willow Creek had wrapped around her. As night fell, the atmosphere thickened with dread. The children's laughter faded as Laura pulled them in, trying to shield their innocent light from the darkness that loomed beyond their home. Lights flickered ominously, sending jerks of terror through her spine. The figure returned, inching ever so closer, almost daring her to step outside. It was the whispers in the wind that finally pushed her over the edge. They echoed like a dark promise, reminding her of the secrets she buried, the truth she fought to protect. Staring into the creeping shadows, gripping the hand of Max with one trembling hand and holding Jenna close with the other, she realized the neighborhood she thought safe was twisted in a malevolent shroud. With the night deepening and terror settling thick like fog, Laura stood on the edge of her yard, torn between fleeing and facing whatever awaited her in the dark. She could feel it, the unseen eyes observing, judging, waiting. The tension snapped. She could not run, could not hide. The whispers mingled with the rustling leaves, pulling her closer to the looming questions of trust and safety. Her fight for survival had only just begun, and the darkness now promised to unveil the ultimate betrayal that would redefine everything she thought she knew about her home. What would she find in the shadows? The wind howled like a banshee, carrying with it the sound of leaves rustling ominously in the night. The suburban calm had morphed into a nightmare. Her safe haven now felt heavy with menace. Laura took a deep breath, her heart thudding against her ribcage. She had to protect her kids. "Stay close," she whispered, the tremor in her voice betraying her anxiety. Max looked up, sensing her fear, while Jenna clung to her leg, eyes wide like saucers. The yard stretched before them, dark and endless, each shadow a potential threat. Then, in the corner of her gaze, she caught a flicker. The figure? It moved stealthily along the tree line, darting in and out of the patches of moonlight. Her pulse quickened, both instinct and terror propelling her forward. "Mom," Max ventured, his small voice breaking the suffocating silence. Before she could respond, a sudden chill swept through, moving like a tide and wrapping around her body, hollowing her out from the inside. It whispered secrets she couldn't hear clearly, but its implications felt loud and dreadful. "Let us go inside," Laura urged forcefully, but her feet felt glued to the ground. A primal part of her screamed to flee, but an even stronger pull urged her to confront the darkness. The children hesitated, their soft whimpers punctuating the heavy air. Fighting the mounting wave of panic, she stepped closer to the trees, where the darkness pooled like ink. "Show yourself," she called out, her voice trembling but defiant. Silence. Then, a slow clap echoed through the air. Clap, clap, clap. It was slow, mocking, and sent shards of ice through her veins. "Brave mother," a voice creaked from behind the trees, smooth yet jagged, like ice scraping against metal. "But you have so much to learn." Laura tightened her grip on her kids. "Who are you? What do you want?" Each word felt heavy, as if she were dragging them through molasses. "Oh," Laura, the voice slithered through her, worming its way into her thoughts. "You're not the only one with secrets, and I've come to collect." Suddenly, the children shrank behind her, and her chest tightened. "Get away from my family," she shouted, but the courage started to wane as the figure stepped forward. It was a woman, her face obscured by a veil of shadows, yet the outline was clear. Long, tangled hair cascading, her limbs impossibly thin. Laura squinted against the darkness, searching for familiarity but finding nothing. "Your neighbors," the figure whispered, stepping closer, a cold wind following her. "They know and they have been waiting. For you. For your family." Laura's mind raced. Memories flashed like lightning. The way they stared at her after the news broke about her husband. Their smiles cloaked in something darker. "You're lying," she shouted, desperation bouncing harshly off the trees. But the figure only smiled, revealing teeth too sharp, glinting in the moonlight. "Not a lie, dear. Just truth you're afraid to face." The word snagged on Laura's heart as understanding settled like sludge in her stomach. The friendly faces of her neighbors now seemed corrupted. Each dinner shared, each wave exchanged, drowned in the swell of betrayal. Suddenly, a scream tore through the night, high and piercing. It was Jenna. "Mommy." Laura spun around just in time to see her daughter vanish into the darkness, the shadows consuming her. Instinct kicked in. She dove forward, but the figure lunged, blocking her path. "You must choose," it hissed, "to save one or lose both." A decision loomed, a murderous ultimatum, twisted into the fabric of her existence. "Execute your choice." Dear, the malicious smirk on the shadow's face haunted her as the world tilted. What would she sacrifice to save her children? In that moment of horror, the weight of secrets turned heavy. She had to act, but the price would be steep. Laura could feel it, the darkness was closing in, and time was running out. What choice would she make as her children screamed in the unknowable night? Laura's heart pounded like a war drum as she faced the darkness. The figure loomed, a sinister silhouette in the night, each bone of its frame seeming to crackle with energy. Her breath came in ragged gasps, fear suffocating her as she searched for a way to save her daughter, her thoughts racing through the impossible choices spinning in her mind. "Choose." The shadow hissed again, voice dripping with malice. Jenna's cries echoed off the trees, sharp and desperate. Laura felt rooted to the spot, torn between the urge to run into the murky shadows and the dread of whatever lay hidden there. Would she find her daughter or herself caught in some engulfing darkness? "Max, hold on to my leg," she commanded, her voice cracking under the weight of fear. She wanted to shield her son from the horror unfolding before them. The air felt thick, claustrophobic, as if the night itself was pressing down on her. Before she could make a move, the figure glided toward her, suggesting a slow dance with the darkness. Its twisted grin widened, revealing those teeth again, gleaming and malevolent. "This is not a game, dear. Let her go," Laura shouted, trying to sound braver than she felt. She stepped forward, every instinct screaming at her to retreat. But the thought of losing Jenna paralyzed her. "You can take me instead. Just let her go." A laugh pierced the night, cruel and derisive. "You think your sacrifice means anything? You must choose between your love and your cowardice. One will be free, the other, lost forever." The stillness around her was deafening. Laura swallowed hard, glancing back to see Max trembling in the shadows of her resolve. She couldn't bear to see fear in his eyes. "Choose," the voice urged, an insistent whisper dripping with icy temptation. Laura's mind reeled, the weight of decisions crashing in. She pictured Jenna's laughter, sweet and innocent, and recalled the warmth of hugs shared and whispered secrets. But what if freeing one meant dooming the other? Her past haunted her, her husband lost, their lives shattered. What if she lost everything again? Mommy, Jenna's voice called, a fragile ribbon of hope woven into despair. It ignited something fierce inside Laura. No, no, she shouted, rage bubbling up. I won't let you do this. The edges of the shadows buckled and twisted with her anger as if they were alive, the air shaking with tension. You underestimate me, Laura, the figure crooned, moving closer, its breath cold against her cheeks, making her skin prickle. The silhouettes of the trees warped, and for a split second, the woman was gone, leaving a gaping blackness that seemed to swallow the light whole. Max, stay close. Laura's protective instinct flared, a flicker of reinforcement amidst faltering resolve. Suddenly, they heard a bone-chilling rustle, and another scream pierced through the darkness. The sound was unmistakable. It was Jenna, calling for help, echoes of panic mingling with something darker lurking behind the veil of shadows. Laura's heart shattered with the knowledge that time was slipping from her grasp. I have to save her, she yelled, determination rising in her throat. Max tugged at her sleeve, visibly shaking. Mom, please don't stay here, she snapped, feeling the urgency of the moment blaze through her. She had to act, to choose. Forcing herself to embrace the terror, she flooded the void between them with her voice. I choose my daughter. As the words left her lips, the world around her twisted violently. A chasm opened at the heart of the shadowy figure, blurring boundaries. Yet fear strangled her heart had she exchanged one life for the other. Jenna's howl and the figure's laughter intertwined, reverberating through the chilling air. In the haze of desperation, Laura lunged into the darkness, unwilling to swallow the bitter consequences of her choice. What awaited her on the other side? As she stumbled forward, shadows enveloped her, the weight of her decision heavier than she anticipated. Was this the end or a new beginning in the nightmarish game they had begun? The darkness closed in around Laura as she surged into it, her heart racing, each beat echoing like a funeral drum. There was a strange, thick silence that wrapped around her, swallowing the sounds of the world she knew. It felt suffocating, as if the suffocating shadows were pressing against her skin, clawing at her resolve. Jenna, she cried, her voice bouncing off unseen walls, fading into an eerie stillness that gave her chills. Cold air stung her face. Not unlike the icy grip of fear she felt rooted in her gut. She could barely see anything. Shadows danced just out of the reach of her frantic searching, and then she felt it a pull, a tug at the very essence of her being. It wasn't tangible, but it was there, like a whisper wrapping around her soul, guiding her deeper into the claustrophobic void. As she stumbled forward, the air shifted, becoming thick with dread. Memories began to flood her mind, the laughter of Jenna, the warmth of the sun on their faces, the way they would curl up together with books in the cozy corners of their home. But with each step she took into the darkness, those images flickered like candles fading in wind. Another scream echoed, but this time it was sharper, filled with agony. Mommy, help me. Jenna's voice rang crystal clear. It struck Laura like a dagger, igniting her instincts anew. Each syllable was soaked in fear that resonated with her own. Just as she felt her legs give beneath her, something skittered across the ground, a small creature, or perhaps a shadow. Panic surged. She forced her feet to keep moving, deeper into the carnivorous unknown, scraping her hand along the rough bark of trees, feeling more alive in her terror, but more lost as well. Don't leave me. Jenna's voice trembled, filled with despair, resonating against Laura's heart. She willed the air to carry her wordless promises, to reach her daughter through this nightmarish fog. But the pull grew stronger, more insistent. Choose. Laura, the sinister voice returned, its echo wrapping around her like a coil, squeezing the breath from her lungs. One will follow the light, the other remains in the darkness. What darkness? What light? Panic paralyzed her. Mom, please. Jenna's cries grew fainter, swallowed whole by the shadows. The weight of her daughter's suffering filled Laura with fury and pain. She wouldn't let this wicked force tear them apart. Gathering her shattered strength, she screamed, I'll find you. I want to lose you. The darkness roared back, a tempest of shadows swirling violently around her, disorienting her. Her heartbeat quickened as the twisted figure materialized before her, its maw twisting into a grotesque smile, those malevolent teeth gleaming. Ah, but I control the path, don't you see? Laura felt her breath quicken, nausea creeping in. What do you want? The figure leaned closer, its breath cold and acrid. Want? I want your choice. Choose or suffer the consequences. Her resolve shattered like glass. I want my daughter, she shouted, feeling doubt crack through her confidence like ice. Then run, Laura. Run away from the truth, away from her. Suddenly, a harsh gust whipped through the trees, casting them into chaotic motion, and Laura stumbled backward into the dark. She felt the world shift beneath her, plunging her into a winding tunnel that swallowed her cries. With every ounce of her strength, she lunged forward, hoping to break through this tapestry of fear and shadows, hoping to find her daughter waiting on the other side. But nothing prepared her for what awaited, because as she emerged, the air cleared, unveiling a clearing with a chilling sight. Before her lay an altar of shadows, each figure dancing in grotesque choreography, faces familiar and yet distorted echoes of lost loved ones twisted in torment. And at the center of it all, Jenna. But was it really her? Laura's breath caught in her throat. What choice lay before her now? As she stepped forward, horror gripped her heart. Was this the path to her daughter or to her own oblivion? The altar pulsed like a living entity, shadows darting around the twisted figures, their faces contorted in screams that echoed inside Laura's skull. It was as if a miasma of despair clung to the clearing, penetrating her thoughts, tearing at the delicate threads of her sanity. Mommy, a whisper pierced through the chaos, fragile yet laced with urgency. Jenna's silhouette flickered, her outline wavering between light and shadow. Help me! Desperation clawed at Laura. She took a step forward, but the shadows shrieked, sending waves of darkness crashing against her legs as if to tether her in place. She glanced back, and the path she'd come through was already swallowed by thick, creeping blackness. More than a physical entity, it felt alive. Choose, the malevolent voice boomed from the depths of the shadows, reverberating through her bones. Which will you save, the light or the depths? Stop it! Laura screamed, shaking her head violently. I want to play your game. Terror twisted within her, squeezing her heart tightly. Jenna's figure flickered again, floating close to the sacrilege, arms outstretched, eyes wide with fear. Mom, please. The genuine plea of her daughter tore through her, igniting a wildfire of rage. The words of the shadow figure echoed endlessly in her mind. She could feel the weight of decision pressing down upon her shoulders, the impending doom curling around her like a serpent. Why was she being forced to choose between darkness and light? Fury bubbled inside her, and she took another step, pushing against the oppressive shadows. I will not abandon my child, she shouted, determination streaming through her veins like ice water. There was a piercing shriek as multiple figures recoiled, revealing more distorted faces, friends, family, people she had lost, and those she thought she'd never see again. They beckoned to her, mouths twisted in silent screams, their eyes pleading. If she looked closer, she could see echoes of their lives, moments of joy now marred by an agonizing blend of regret and sorrow. You'll join them soon enough, the figure hissed, its voice a malevolent caress. Let go, Laura. Only then will your daughter be free. Suddenly, Jenna's outline grew clearer, the shadows retreating momentarily. Mom, you're stronger than this. Don't let them win. Her small voice cut through the pain, an ember of hope breaking through the suffocating dread. Laura's heart raced. She could feel her daughter's warmth, an electric connection between them. One chance, one moment. She had to act before it was ripped away forever. Enough. She yelled again, fists clenching at her sides. She focused on Jenna, blocking out the wailing phantoms around her. I choose to fight. In that instant, a surge of fire ignited within her. Bright light exploded from her chest, illuminating the clearing in a blinding glow. The shadowy figures shrieked in agony as they were pushed back, darkness fracturing and breaking like glass under the strain of the brightness. But the world twisted again. Just as the shadows began to dissolve, a gaping void opened beneath Laura's feet. pulling her into an abyss of chaos and terror. She reached out desperately, fingers brushing against Jenna's outstretched hand. "Mom." Jenna's voice was stronger now, pulling at Laura with a fierce intensity. But in the blink of an eye, the gap yawned wider, threatening to consume them both. "Hold on," Laura screamed, grabbing Jenna. Yet nothing felt tethered. They fell further into the darkness, the light faltering as tentacles of shadow closed in. Laura's heart thundered as she fought to see through the blackness. What had she done? And then, just as hope seemed lost, a single voice, clear, firm, and commanding, cut through the night. "You think you're free? You're playing my game, and the end is yet to come." The ground beneath her rumbled, shifting like the breath of some ancient beast awakening. As the very fabric of reality twisted around her, the final snap of the shadow's grip felt like an initiation, bowing both before her determination and the terror that awaited. The void whispered promises and taunts of what was to come. What awaited them in this hellish expanse? Would their struggle see them breaking free, or was their fate intertwined forever with darkness? The world spiraled as Laura and Jenna descended into the pit of shadows. Darkness swallowed them, thick as grave soil, smothering any flicker of hope. Laura clutched her daughter's hand, the warmth slipping through her fingers like water. Panic surged, her mind racing with unanswered questions and gut-wrenching fears. "Jenna," she gasped, the name choking in her throat. "Stay with me." A flicker, a pulse of warmth surged between them again. "I'm here, Mommy." Jenna's voice was buoyed by determination, but doubt flickered in her eyes. They plunged deeper, and the darkness breathed around them, a living thing hungry for fear. The void suddenly shimmered, and figures began to materialize in the haze, twisted silhouettes with gaping mouths. Laughter echoed, hollow and sinister. It chilled Laura's spine, making her blood run cold. Each laugh cut sharply through the night, a clear reminder of their impending doom. What do you want from us?" Laura shouted, her voice shaking in defiance. The figures drew closer, their faces contorted in grotesque expressions. Each one mirrored sorrow, betrayal, and rage, emotions wrestling for dominance. "Your choice has been made," one figure hissed, its voice reverberating through the air, curling like smoke. "You chose light, but light has a price." A chuckle, low and unsettling, broke free, lingering like a shadow on the tip of her tongue. "Mom, make it stop." Jenna's plea pierced through Laura's haze of confusion and fear. She squeezed her hand tighter, rising above the panic swirling in her gut. "Whatever they want, we want to give it to them," Laura shouted. Suddenly, the shadows lurched. The ground rumbled underfoot, the shrine of darkness shifting like an awakening monster. "Then you, too, shall join the shadows," the figure crooned, its eyes glinting with cruel malice. "Wake up, Laura. It's now or never." Jenna's voice cut through the chaos like a shard of glass. For a fleeting moment, clarity broke through the fog. Laura's motherly instinct surged, igniting the embers of her resolve. "We are stronger than this," she bellowed, daring the shadows to come closer. As her heart raced, she focused on the warmth of Jenna's hand, and every bit of her will funneled into it. The shadows wavered, flickering like flames. "Send them back," she cried, her voice trembling but fueled by fierce love. "Let us pass." The darkness recoiled at her words, hissing in protest. For a moment, the horrific faces twisted in rage, and the laughter turned to wails, a cacophony of voices clamoring to drown her. "Make them leave," Jenna begged, terror spilling into her voice. With each desperate word, Laura felt a surge of energy building. She closed her eyes, focused on the pulse of light from within, a resolve brighter than despair. The shadows, still swirling, threw themselves at her, clawing and tearing, but she endured. Just as the tentacles of darkness reached for them again, she screamed once more, "I won't let you have us. Not today." In that moment, light erupted around them, blinding in its intensity. The figures screeched, flailing as the power surged forth, pushing back the consuming shadows. But in the midst of the overwhelming light, a shadow surged through, darker than the rest. It shot toward Jenna, wrapping around her like a vice. Laura's heart quickened, pulse pounding as she watched in horror. "Mommy, it's pulling me," Jenna gasped, her voice laced with sheer panic. "No." Laura lunged for her, a primal scream bursting from her lips. They were being torn apart, destiny clashing against a force she couldn't comprehend. Your fate is already written. The figure spat, voice dripping with malice. The battle raged around them, the light and dark tangled in a vicious dance. She reached for her daughter. An unexpected truth settled like a weight in her stomach. Would fighting this darkness ultimately seal their fates? Or was this their only chance to break free? And then, just as the shadows clawed, pulling Jenna deeper into the abyss, the ground split open again, revealing a chasm filled with whispers of forgotten souls. Only one can escape. A chilling echo reverberated through the air, temptation woven in every syllable. Mommy. Jenna's voice trailed off into whispers, swallowed by the void. What choice would Laura make now, with everything on the brink of collapse? Would she abandon her daughter to darkness, or risk everything for a glimmer of hope? The ultimatum hung heavy, and the shadows laughed their wicked cackle in response. What was lurking at the edge of the void, waiting for her dreaded choice? The shrieks echoed like funeral bells, vibrating through Laura's bones. Shadows swirled around Jenkins, growing thicker, whispering promises as they tugged at Jenna with relentless greed. Laura's heart hammered in her chest, desperation clawing at her throat. Just hold on, Jenna, she cried, trying to pierce the oppressive fog with her voice. Each word felt like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. But Jenna was slipping. The darkness coiled tighter around her, squeezing the breath from her lungs. Mommy, please. Jenna's eyes, wide with terror, shimmered with unshed tears. The edges of her body grew translucent, fading. Laura could almost feel her slipping from reality. The weight of their connection stretched to its breaking point. Fight it. We are stronger together, Laura shouted, pushing every ounce of her will into the words. They swirled between her and Jenna, creating a flicker of light in the dark. The malevolent figures roiled in fury, screeching as they clawed toward their prize. Choking on fear, Laura could feel the shadows probing her mind, urging her to abandon the struggle. Surrender. It echoed in her thoughts, insidious and sweet. A part of her wanted to let go, to give in to the seduction of darkness, to relinquish this fight and save herself. But no, she would not let this malevolence claim her daughter. Jenna, listen to my voice. Focus on me. Panic sliced through her, sharper than any blade. She felt the shadows twitch, as if they were alive, tasting her resolve and finding it bitter. Perhaps they knew what she was about to decide, what she was tempted to choose. Mommy, I can't hold on. Jenna's voice dropped to a whisper, trembling between the racks of the unseen. The darkness tightened its grip, snaking around her throat. Then don't try to hold on, Laura blurted, suddenly realizing what she needed to do. Let go. Just let go of the fear and trust me. Mom. Jenna's cry mixed with choked sobs. Fear flickered in her eyes, and Laura saw it a desperate plea for hope. Holding her breath, Laura dared the shadows, taking a step closer to the chasm. I choose my daughter. And with that declaration, she let go of her daughter's hand, the warmth fading as the darkness consumed it. No. Panic speared through her heart, but she clutched the space where Jenna had been, willing her to be safe. Forcing the threads of their connection to stretch beyond the darkness, beyond the void. The ground convulsed violently around them. Whispers and laughter turned into an anguished cacophony as their cries drowned one another out. Only one can escape, the rasping echo murmured again, darker this time, latching onto her thoughts, circling like vultures. Choose wisely. Sweat trickled down Laura's back as she fought against the voices, relentless and seething under the surface of her very soul. Jenna's safety flickered in her mind, a dying light begging for life. I will not choose. You don't own me, Laura roared, the defiance peeling back layers of terror. Every breath was a battle. But then, she felt it, a sudden, burning warmth at the center of her chest, a rekindled flicker of light she thought lost. Mommy. Jenna's wavering voice reached through the haze. And there, in the chaos, between light and shadow, Laura glimpsed her daughter, suspended at the edge of the chasm, her tiny frame enveloped in darkness. No. Laura lunged, but the shadows surged, pulling her back with visceral strength. The chasm yawned open, threatening to swallow them both whole. Only one can survive, it hissed once more. tantalizing Laura with the potential of limitless dread. Fear consumed her thoughts, black and biting. How far would she go to save her child? What depths would she be forced to explore? In that split moment, confronted with an impossible choice, the question hung heavy in the thick, flickering air: would she give her life for her daughter, even if it meant sealing the darkness' grip forever? Just then, a figure emerged from the shadows, familiar yet terrifying, its face shrouded. Laura gasped, staring into the abyss as recognition crashed over her. Mom. The darkness shifted, revealing secrets long buried. And as Jenna's spirit hung in the balance, Laura knew their fate was about to unravel. What awaited them on the other side of that beckoning darkness? The figure stepped closer, shrouded in shadows yet all too recognizable. Laura's breath hitched. Mom. The voice echoed like a ghost from a past she thought she had buried. She had not seen her mother in years, not since that awful night when she vanished into thin air, leaving nothing but darkness behind. Why? Why are you here? Laura stammered, dread gripping her throat. Her mother had been a shadow of her former self long before she went missing, lost to despair and secrets that Laura had never fully understood. This apparition held the same desperate emptiness, but her eyes, those were the same eyes Laura remembered. They held an unsettling truth, a pit of despair that showed nothing but sorrow. Laura, you have to understand. Her mother spoke, her voice a brittle whisper. The darkness, it feeds on fear, and shut up. Laura screamed, the sounds of Jenna's cries still echoing in her ears. You left. You let the darkness take you. What do you know about fighting it? Yet her mother persisted, undeterred by Laura's fury. I know you have a choice to make now. A choice that can save you both. Laura was torn. Her mother had given up in the face of the shadows. What kind of a guide was she? You're not a guide. You're part of this nightmare. As shadows twisted and writhed at the edges, Alexa's form flickered. The incessant whispers climbed to a frenzied roar around them, drowning out every rational thought. Only one can survive, they chanted, mocking Laura's torment. Mom. Jenna's voice broke through the chaos, fragile and filled with anguish. It connected with Laura's heart, pulling her back into focus. Her daughter was fading, and here she was arguing with the ghost of her failed past. Every instinct screamed to protect Jenna, to pull her back from the brink. Laura, her mother's ghostly form, faltered, desperation evident in her vacant stare. You can't let go, not again. Choose. Only one can escape. The air turned icy, wrapping around Laura like a serpent coiling tight. She looked towards the chasm, a pit of infinite night, threatening to snatch away the only light left in her world. I can't. Laura screamed, grasping at the threads of hope that crisscrossed in her mind. I can't choose between my mother and my daughter. You failed me once, and now, not again. Laura. The despair in her mother's plea unleashed a cold fury within Laura that pumped through her veins. You don't need me to save you. You give in to the darkness, and it will consume everything. You have the strength to fight. The figure wavered, resolving into half-formed memories filled with regret. It's you, Laura. You were always meant to break this cycle. Don't be like me, don't let the darkness win. Mom. Jenna's cries grew weaker, swirling into the chaos. And suddenly, clarity pierced the fog. Laura stood anchored to her daughter, the flickering warmth of Jenna's spirit igniting a fire inside her. The truth struck like a thunderbolt: she would not let fear dictate her fate, nor would she choose between love and despair. No, she shouted, her voice cutting through the dissonance. You don't control me. I choose life. I choose my daughter. In that moment, the shadows recoiled. What lost light of hope flickered within her began to expand, pushing back against the encroaching despair. But a twisted laughter erupted from the chasm. The darkness responded, shooting fingers of cold mist toward her. It shrieked in outrage, an insatiable hunger rising to devour both mother and daughter. The choice still loomed, the paths diverging like a forked road, dark and ominous. Trust in your bond. Her mother shouted, but the shadows tightened again, threatening to pull them both back into darkness. Laura clung to the glimmer of Jenna's spirit, wrestling with the urge to submit. Could she face what lurked in the depths below? What lay on the other side of this torment? As the darkness roared in protest, clawing for dominance, Laura realized she stood at the precipice of something more than just a choice. It was a revelation that would change everything. The question now was, would she dare to leap into the unknown, to fight for her daughter against an ancient evil, or would she be consumed by the whispers of despair? The silence after the last clash of shadows echoed between them, thick with tension. It beckoned her forward into the abyss, a choice still hanging in the air. Would they forge into the darkness together, or would it pull them apart forever? The darkness writhed like a beast, hungry for its prey, and Laura felt its cold breath against her skin. Every fiber in her being screamed to run, to escape this confrontation. But Jenna's pale, trembling form flickered in and out of sight, pulling Laura back. Her mother's ghost, just a few feet away, was now a mere silhouette against an unfathomable void. "Laura, listen to me," her mother pleaded, voice filled with fear, desperation. "Trust your love. Fight back. The shadows can be held at bay if you just believe." "Believe?" Laura spat, panic seeping into her voice. "You're the one who disappeared. You abandoned us. Why should I believe you now?" As if answering her call, the darkness surged forward with a swirling motion, wrapping tendrils around Laura's feet, pulling her toward the abyss. The chilling mist seeped into her mind, whispering promises that clawed at her sanity. "Give and let go." Join her. Jenna's face twisted in terror. "Mom, please, don't listen." The child's small voice became a beacon of clarity amidst the chaos. "We can't let it win. We have to fight together." "Together," Laura echoed, squeezing her eyes shut. A choice hovered over her like a dagger, ready to plunge into her heart. Trembling, she staggered back, creating a barrier of defiance. "You think you can take us? You think you can tear apart what we have? I want to let it happen." Suddenly, her mother's specter flickered and solidified. "You must realize the truth about this place, Laura. It feeds on division." The shadows swooped closer, merging into one grotesque mass, howling in fury. "Only one can survive. Your love is a weakness." "No," Laura shouted defiantly, feeling a spark igniting within her. "My love is my strength. You don't own me. I own the light." In that decisive moment, some inner strength surged through her like wildfire. Tendrils of light burst forth from her heart, cutting through the suffocating shadows. Laura extended her arms, reached out toward Jenna, feeling the warmth of their connection manifest in brilliant beams. The darkness screamed, thrashing violently against the light. "No, you can't do this." It felt like a living thing, snarling, baring its teeth like a ravenous wolf. "Watch," Laura yelled, focusing fiercely on the bond they shared, a connection no darkness could sever. Streams of light intertwined, encircling her and Jenna like a protective cocoon, and the distraught whispering began to fade. With a roar that shook the very ground beneath them, the shadow figure shrank, recoiling as the light engulfed the darkness, a celestial battle where love clashed against despair. Laura felt her strength multiply, a timeless force flowing through her veins as visions invaded her mind. Glimpses of her past with her mother, moments filled with laughter and warmth and family. "Stay with me, Jenna. Hold on." The child nodded, her petite frame glowing with a life of its own. "I'm here, Mom. I want to leave you. We can fight this." The tendrils of night shrieked, shriveling to the edges where the light's warmth expanded. Fragments of lost hope drifted away, and from them emerged curdled memories clawing for attention, remnants of fear and doubt. But now, standing shoulder to shoulder with her daughter, Laura began to understand. As the last whispers of darkness howled, Laura prepared to take one final stand before the malevolence could recover. Together, they yelled in unison, as a wave of light erupted from their hearts, pushing against the desperate fingers that reached for them, but could not touch the sacred bond. But just as liberation loomed within their grasp, the abyss shifted. A crack began to form, a tear in reality, offering glimpses of what lay beyond. "Mom," Jenna cried, eyes wide with awe and terror. It's trying to pull us apart." Laura's heart raced as she grappled with the chaos around her. "Stay close, Jenna. No matter what happens, remember our love is our shield." But even as she declared their strength, the darkness wasn't finished. Deep within its core, where remnants of ancient evil resided, something stirred, ready to retaliate. A voice, colder than the abyss, echoed through the shifting shadows. Love is nothing, I will have my revenge. Just then, the ground began to quake, sending Laura and Jenna tumbling. Shadows rolled in like waves, eager to reclaim their lost prey. Could love truly conquer the encroaching dread, or would the revived darkness engulf them both? The looming tear in the fabric of reality widened, promising chaos and horror, but silently it beckoned, offering a possible escape, a choice yet again. Would they leap into the unknown or be consumed by the shadow's wrath? And somewhere in the depths of the collapsing world, a laugh echoed, one that resonated of death and despair, promising that this was just the beginning. The world around Laura and Jenna spun violently, the darkness still slashing at their resolve. Laura grasped Jenna's hand tighter, feeling warmth amidst the overwhelming cold of despair. "We can't let it take us," she shouted, her voice rising above the cacophony of tortured screams and sinister laughter. "Mom, I'm scared," Jenna whimpered, her small body quaking. "Stay with me. Focus on me," Laura replied, the urgency of her tone now crackling with a newfound strength. She felt it, a wave of fierce determination coursing through her like lightning. They had fought too hard to be claimed by the shadows. If sensing her resolve, the darkness pulsed, a monstrous creature thrashing against the threads of light that bound them. "You think love can save you?" it taunted, its voice bubbling with a twisted mirth. "I will rip it away and leave you alone in your suffering." "No," Laura screamed, her heart thumping like a war drum. "You will never take my love." With those words, she summoned every fading fragment of hope and turned it into a radiant force of will. The beam of light shot forward, illuminating the suffocating shadows around them, pushing back against the weight closing in. And with that power, something shifted within the remnants of fear feeding the darkness. The shadows began to quiver. Ashes to ashes, the figure sneered, yet now it was haunted by the flicker of genuine concern. "Only one can survive." "Not today," Laura replied defiantly, her breath steadying. Looking at Jenna, she felt every heartbeat, each thump underscored by the certainty of their bond. "Remember what we said together." The shadows roared and lunged forward, but as they did, Laura felt something crack deep within her. The fear, it transformed into liberation, flooding her heart and heightening her spirit. "We're stronger than you," she shouted, her voice anchoring against the darkness, resonating like a booming crescendo. That a surge of light erupted from the core of their hearts, radiating fiercely in every direction. The figures around them writhed in agony, silhouettes contorting as they battled against the brilliance. "No!" the creature shrieked, distorted whispers climbing to a deafening roar, each voice merging to drown out individuality. Shadows swirled like a tempest, whipping around them, yet Laura and Jenna remained steadfast. They locked eyes, and in that moment, everything became clear. "Believe in us," Jenna cried, her small face illuminated by the growing glow. "Believe in our love." "Always," Laura echoed. They were not just fighting against the darkness, they were existing as a testament of love against despair. Together, they forged an unbreakable line against the encroaching shadows. The wave of light blasted forth, tendrils of brilliance streaming from their hearts, as if the very sun had come to their aid. The darkness began to withdraw, shrieking in a cacophony of rage and desperation. Laura felt its tendrils releasing their grip on her, the shadows weakening as the blazing light consumed them. "This is our truth," she yelled, focusing all the warmth in her heart toward the shadows' retreat. The ground beneath them trembled, fissures appearing as the very fabric of reality wrenched apart. They began to rise, an incandescent pillar of luminous hope guiding them towards the bright horizon. The abyss howled, but it was in retreat now, recoiling as the light pulsed stronger and brighter. "You can't escape," it yelled, voice trembling with fear now. "I will have you." "Not today," Laura shouted back, feeling empowered with each word, the bond with Jenna turning into an unbreakable force. The shadows dissolved like mist in the morning sun. Then, with a final surge of energy, Laura and Jenna were swept into a blinding light. They soared, ascending above the darkness that had shackled them for so long. The air grew lighter, breathing easier with every moment spent in safety's grasp. As they broke through, sunlight enveloped them, bathing both mother and daughter in warmth like a tender embrace. They landed softly on familiar ground, the front yard of their home, vibrant and alive. Again, the flowers swayed gently in the breeze, and the once unfathomable fears dissipated in the fresh air. "Mommy," Jenna gasped, her bright smile returning, and in that moment, the echoes of their harrowing struggle faded, leaving only the purity of their connection. "Never again," Laura whispered, pulling her daughter close. "I won't let anything tear us apart." "Yes," Jenna agreed, her small voice strong with conviction. "Together forever." As they stood in the soft glow of sunlight, Laura felt the shadows behind them dissolve entirely. The watching eyes of Willow Creek felt light and friendly again, their faces no longer twisted in betrayal. The darkness had indeed tried to claim them, but they had fought against loneliness and despair. They defaced the darkness hand in hand, and together they emerged whole, victorious, and freed. Oh, remember this. Dear listeners, love is powerful. When it feels darkest, trust in connection, faith, and above all, fight for those you love. And now, before we close, I must ask you subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this ending. And instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. So don't wait even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.